Hello everyone, welcome back to just another F1 podcast here on Ep6 Motorsport. My name is Richard Smyth and this is Season 2, Episode 6. And today I'm delighted to say I'm joined once again by accredited Formula 1 photographer Craig Evans. Craig, we've just had the Spanish Grand Prix. Was it a better race than you were expecting? What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was tenfold what I was expecting. Dare I say it was actually better than Portugal. But yeah, for a Spanish Grand Prix, it was not bad. There were a few tricks up their sleeves, and it was a decent race. Solid strategy race, not the best for on-track overtaking, but there was some good racing there this weekend.
It was definitely better than what many people expected. I think we'll start off, as we do all our podcasts, with a bit of F1 higher or lower. This is the exciting part of the podcast.
This is starting to get extremely competitive as well.
Yes, it's gone from asking questions that people listening back home can guess to who can come up with the most ridiculous question to try to trick each other out. As you're the guest, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go second.
So you want me to ask you
Go
then?
for it.
Okay.
Fire away.
So question 1. Bruce Mclaren started 100 Grand Prix races, but has Jackie Stewart entered a higher or lower number of Grand Prix?
Jackie Stewart's got to be higher.
Final answer?
Final answer.
It's lower.
Really?
By 1. He 99 races. There's he would have actually got the 100, only he could have retired at the end of the 1972 US Grand Prix, which would have been his 100th Grand Prix. But his teammate, one of his teammates was killed during practice, and the cars had to be withdrawn. So he would have otherwise been equal in Bruce McLaren 100 Grand Prix.
Oh, damn.
So that's your 100% record went last week, and it's 2 you've got wrong. So
yeah, they've been close ones though.
They have been. There's only one in it. Do you want me to ask your second question, or do you want to ask me one?
I can go for your one if you'd want.
Go on then.
So, of course, this weekend at the Spanish Grand Prix, we saw Mercedes pull a two-stop pit stop race to overthrow Max Verstappen at the front of the running order. The last time, of course, that was seen was Hungary 2019. So my question to Richard, which race had the higher or lower run time? So which race was ran to the lower run time?
That's a very mean question. Trying to think, there was only in terms of
to make it a little bit easier. The Spanish Grand Prix run time this year was 1 hour 33 minutes 0.076 seconds. Was the Hungarian GP in 2019 ran faster or slower? Thinking face is well and truly on for those that can't see.
We're trying to think, because if I'm correct in saying I was actually in Monaco at the time of the race.
Not to flex.
No. Actually in an apartment in Nice after watching Max Verstappen claim his first pole position.
Yep, first pole position.
Stars and Bars, Monaco.
Nice.
Had to get that in there. So I'm trying to think. I don't know.
We're going to have to start introducing an answer time limit on these.
We are.
Otherwise, we'll be here for an hour.
Yeah. That is a very tough one. I'm going to go... Hungary was... I don't remember Hungary going on for too long, so I'm going to say Spain was longer.
How? It's just it's pure luck at this point. Hungarian GP run time was 1 hour 14 minutes 0.572 seconds.
See, I think that was the same day as like the Community Shield final or something, and I remember sitting watching all the sports. So
Hungary's a quick lap as well.
Yeah. So
very good, very good.
Okay.
The record maintains, but will the next question trip him up?
Oh, well, this one is sort of along the similar lines as yours, only it's about track length rather than track time. Suzuka is 5.807 kilometers or 3.609 miles in length. But is the track length of Monza higher or lower?
Now, I should know this because I did the track guide videos
You
for
should.
last year, but I can't remember the distance. So what was Suzuka again?
Would you like in kilometers or miles?
Miles, please.
3.609.
I would say Monza is shorter. at around 2.8 miles.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
It is lower, so you're correct there. But you got the number wrong. It's actually 3.6 miles.
God, there's not much wiggle room in your questions.
3.6 miles flat, or 5.793 kilometers.
Oh, there we go.
So yeah, it was very tight. So let's see if you can track me out with this one.
So, staying on the theme of Hungary 2019 and Spain 2021, when Lewis Hamilton came out of the pits in Hungary, he had to overhaul a gap to Max Verstappen of 21.2 seconds. Was the gap in Spain higher or lower than 21.2 seconds?
I knew you were going to say that as soon as that. I know the 20 seconds was mentioned, but 20 seconds could be 19 or 21 in Formula 1, so... Ooh. That's a brilliant question. I'm going to go Spain. The gap was lower.
Lower?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've tripped him up. Yes!
Was it 23 seconds or something like that?
24.4.
Okay. I blame Lewis for saying 20 seconds.
And it's only because the pit lane speed limiter in Barcelona is lower than it is in Hungary.
Oh.
That's why Barcelona has a higher average time loss in the pit lane. Fun fact.
Yes, this is a very
Fun
good question.
fact.
These are all questions and answers that you don't need to know, but are useful information to have.
Of course,
Yes.
So if anyone asks in a pub quiz these absolutely ludicrous questions, you're like, just another F1 podcast.
Yes. You never know when you're going to need to know if Jackie Stewart competed in 99 or 100 Grand Prix races.
Exactly.
And with his last one being the one before the 1972 US Grand Prix. So,
there we go.
Should we start chatting about the
Might as
race?
well actually get on to what we were here to discuss.
The whole point of the podcast, which is, of course, the Spanish Grand Prix. I'll not give it its full title because the saying it in Italy definitely done me out. It was FP1 was the first time we've seen drivers out on track in Barcelona this season. Obviously, pre-season testing was moved to Bahrain, and we have fans back in the grandstands. Both them things, I think, helped create the race a bit better than what we expected. Craig, do you think that not having testing in Barcelona made the race a little bit more exciting?
A little bit. I think it would have played a factor, but the teams have run so many laps here. I think in the build-up they said Jenson Button had done 6,000 laps or something of this track. It's something mental like that. So the teams know this track like the back of their hand, and I think not testing here this year would have made a little bit of a difference. So setups were more of a question and things like that. But I think overall it was a decent race, and I think it was an amalgamation of things that led to that. And I think testing there, not being there this year, was one of them.
I think the battle, the round 4 of Hamilton v Verstappen, I think going into it, there's a bit of hype about it as well, and we got that battle. Verstappen faded off near the end, but this season is shaping up to be exciting between Hamilton v Verstappen, and I feel like every round you can almost near enough guarantee that them two will be fighting somewhere. It might not always be at the very front, but they're that close, and Red Bull is the first time in 10 years that they're on the front row in Spain.
Yeah, it's usually a Mercedes front row lockout.
So I think that really just shows how well Red Bull have come along. But qualifying, we've seen Lewis Hamilton claim his 100th pole position, which is a crazy stat.
That's mental to think.
To get pole position in any series, whether that's right down to the Formula Regional, even karting, it's a tough job to get. But to do that 100 times
at the very top,
it's very, very impressive. And what I was reading was that on midnight on Friday, so going into the early hours of Saturday morning, he was up emailing Bono about how he could improve, and that paid off. You think this season, he mentioned training as well, helping him. Do you think he's really going all out this season for his 8th title?
Well, I think we've said this for the past few seasons now, but I think Hamilton this season so far is the best I've ever seen him. And I've said that consecutively for the past 3 years. 2019, 2020 was brilliant. This year, though, it's another level. And he is always the last person to leave the track. He studies, he works on where he can go faster. He looks physically fit. And I think when he wins races and gets poles this year, he's proper pumped about it. I think it was Bahrain at the start of the season where he was really like, yes, get in there, team, we've done it. And that is mental to see. Because, I mean, everyone says, oh, he's won everything, which he pretty much has. But he's still got that raging fire, and he's still incredible to watch. It's absolutely amazing to watch him on a weekend just find another level.
Yeah, he's superhuman at times. One thing that I did see, I'm not sure if it was this race or the last time he claimed pole, but he questioned whereabouts the Pirelli, the tyres, they get presented for getting pole position. He didn't actually know where they went because he set it down and he asked, where do these go now? And he says, oh, to you. And so he's got 100 of them now, and he doesn't know where any of them are. But I did see, I think one of the Mercedes social team commented to say that they send away to his private collection somewhere.
Yeah.
So they are safe, but
when he opens the museum in when he retires.
That will be some museum, that.
Which rumoured will be. He's got another 3 years at Mercedes.
Yeah. Oh.
Rumours.
Yeah.
Rumours coming out today. But
he is looking for a new contract. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, Hamilton, he's an incredible driver, and every year we chat about, is he going to retire? And he just comes back the following season better. So it's just, when will that stop? Because if he's improving every season, he could go on for another 5-6 seasons.
I can see him getting 10 world titles.
Same, yeah.
Easy. This year, I think Mercedes will edge. Next year, I think Mercedes will be up there again. And not being funny, Hamilton is very much like an Alonso. You could put him in a bad car and he would still be up there.
Yeah.
He's just... All you have to do for me is... And I mean this in no way harsh to Bottas. Compare Bottas and Hamilton. In the race, Hamilton's right behind Verstappen, setting blisteringly quick lap times. Bottas is struggling to get past Charles Leclerc for most of it. And I'm not saying in any means that Bottas is a bad driver. I'm saying Bottas is a very, very good driver. He wouldn't be in that Merc seat if not. But Hamilton and Verstappen this year are just in another league of quick.
Yeah, it was Hamilton's best ever start to season, or with Mercedes at least.
No, it's his record best start. He's never got 94 points from 4 races. Verstappen's as well. Yeah,
and I think that's what's creating a lot of excitement. Because if this was a normal season and Red Bull weren't as close, Hamilton would be winning every race. I would be saying it's a boring season. But it's the fact that finally, because we've been waiting for this few years, it was Verstappen's 100th race for Red Bull as well, and which I think is a remarkable achievement given how young he still is.
Mm-hmm.
I could see him going on to beat Rubens Barrichello. Is it still Rubens Barrichello the record with the most Grand Prix races, if not Hamilton?
No, it's Kimi Räikkönen's now.
Fair enough, yeah.
I believe. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's Kimi's.
It would make sense if it was Kimi's.
364? I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, but it would make sense if it was Kimi's because he's been here quite a long time. Yeah, it was incredible achievement from Hamilton. If we chat about the start of the race now, despite Hamilton claiming his 100th pole, it looked like a vantage Red Bull early on. Max Verstappen, he got a really good start and he led 54 laps of the race.
Red Bull have definitely sorted out their poor starts from seasons gone by.
Yeah,
because the amazing thing with that start is you actually saw Max lift at the start to drop in behind because he got that much of a good getaway. I'm surprised Hamilton didn't cover him off. But no, it was a fair move. But it was a harsh move, but it was fair nonetheless. So, which is why we didn't see any, and that's how racing should be.
Yeah, I think when you have two drivers of that quality, they can go to the point where they almost touch, and still get away fine and continue the race. Because if that was any other driver from the grid, whoever was in Mercedes would have been out.
Yeah.
Hamilton, he knew
You saw him
move.
correct in midway through turn 1, and just to confirm, it is Kimi Räikkönen
Okay.
at the top with 336 entries.
It's interesting. You'll see why a bit later on why it is Rubens Barrichello come to mind. So yeah,
He's second, 326. So very close.
So if Max is 100 races,
You got to remember, he did season and a bit with Toro Rosso.
yeah, half a season, wasn't it? Or season and a half?
Season and a half, I think.
Yeah,
Because he won his first race in 2006.
Team Spain.
Yep. I think. Oh yeah, I think it was actually just half a season.
That's mental.
Yeah, that is mad to think.
So 100 races. As we're chatting about 25 races a season, another 4 years to get up to 200. 8 years, 300. What is he? 22, 23 now?
24.
He's
I
20.
think. 23,
20.
he's 23, 24, so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he should comfortably.
Yeah,
break
easily.
that. Yeah, well, it depends whether or not he does a Nico Rosberg if he wins a world title. We'll not say he will because there's been a few.
We've discussed that one before.
Yeah, between you and Will from FP1 not saying he's going to be world champion. It could be good for views in the future if he does win. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, the race, despite Hamilton's and Verstappen's form this season, the race come down to strategy.
It did.
You highlighted in your tricky higher lower questions. Mercedes' strategy paid off. They took a gamble, I think, but it paid off. Do you think that they could have kept Hamilton a bit longer at the start, or was it the correct thing in the end up?
I think the thing they will have done is, and I text Richard this when we were watching the race. As soon as Hamilton came out on those fresh mediums and whacked in lap times that were 1.8, 1.9 seconds faster than what Verstappen was doing, I was like, they're going to Budapest this. They're going to keep him out longer, which they did, put pressure on Max, get him to burn out his tyres a bit faster by putting a bit more pressure on him, and then pit Hamilton again for more mediums, because that Merc on mediums is bloody quick. Like, it's quicker than on most of the cars on softs. And for some reason, the Merc prefers the mediums massively this year. But yeah, and not to remember is Mercedes have now started taking extra sets of medium tyres to races. They take a set more than most of the other teams. So, yeah, it was strategy-wise perfect from Mercedes. Caught Red Bull napping again. You could argue that Perez was in the wrong place, which allowed them to do it, but Bottas wasn't anywhere close either. So, no, I think Red Bull and Max Verstappen are very quickly starting to learn why Mercedes are the 7-time world champions.
Yeah.
Because they are so pin sharp. Like, that Red Bull should have boxed Max straight away to maintain the lead. And then the minute 1 or 2 laps has gone past, he's lost track position. So, yeah, I think Red Bull not dropped the ball, but Red Bull realised how and why Mercedes are where they are. Yeah. Because they're that good and they're that quick.
Yeah, the Mercedes strategy has been good. There's been times where it hasn't been good, and when they don't get it right, it goes really bad.
Yep.
And I think the reason we don't chat about Mercedes strategy too often is because it's just that good every race that it gets to the point where we don't even notice it. But this race, because of the battle, we did notice it. Do you think that because Mercedes are working better in these medium tyres, that's helping them in the race and in qualifying with them, qualifying Q3 and the soft tyres? Do you think that's the reason why Red Bull are closer to Mercedes this season?
Yeah, I think you could say that. I think the Red Bull definitely works better on the softer tyres. It can fire them up quicker. It can just get them into that usable window faster. But it's quite clear the Red Bull prefers the softs. The Mercedes prefers the mediums. And that's a big thing this year. And as I said, Mercedes taking more mediums. Red Bull are sticking with the softs. So it's a battle that's going to play out over the course of the season.
At what point of the season, if you were Christian Horner, do you stop focusing on developing this car?
That's a very good question. I think, personally, if it was me and I'm a lowly photographer, I'm not a multi-million-pound team boss that runs one of the most successful motorsport teams F1 has seen. Yet, if it was me, and if we say have a full calendar, which is what we've got proposed, and it was getting to around Singapore or Austin, and the Mercs are about 80, 90 points ahead, maybe I'll consider it, but I think Red Bull have got to develop Mercedes right to the very end of the season this year. They have to take the fight to them.
I think off track, I think that Red Bull are really taking battle to Mercedes is the whole Red Bull powertrains. They've taken some big employees from Mercedes. They've
poached some big fish.
Yeah, and they've been contacting a lot of Mercedes employees. They obviously see Mercedes as the best engine providers, and it's the reason Mercedes are at the front. It could have been Ferrari if it wasn't for the scandal a few years ago. But do you think that will damage Mercedes, especially with James Allison moving to a new role? Or is it James Allison?
Yes.
Yeah,
lining up to take Toto's place when he steps down.
Yeah, they've created a new role for him. They're changing up everything, and I think there's something like last year they spent. Do I have the money? Yeah, last year they spent 324 million. Obviously, this year they've only got 150 million to spend. So, do you think that? Well, do you think this budget cap will affect Red Bull in terms of who they can bring in, or are they doing a good enough job at the moment?
I think they're doing a good enough job at the minute, and I don't think it's going to hurt Mercedes, because it wouldn't surprise me if within those contracts they had non-competes, so they won't be able to discuss anything they've worked there before. That would be the logical thing for me.
Yeah, it's whether or not they stick to them contracts.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm sure Mercedes aren't too worried about the whole Red Bull powertrain development. At least it cements Red Bull's future in the sport.
It does.
Because usually we have Helmut Marko saying we're going to pull out if we don't get this, we're going to pull out if we don't get this. And I think that takes a lot of power away from Red Bull and those rumours as well, because it cements them into the sport long into the future. And the next engine regulation change is 2025?
25 or 26.
25 or 26. That's when the next big change is, engine-wise. We don't really know what any of that's going to be yet, but yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how the powertrain battle develops over the next few years.
If you have that alongside Hamilton v Verstappen over the next few years, that it could be a brilliant time for Formula One. Bear in mind, a season or two ago, we were all discussing that Formula One's dying, it's going nowhere, you can't overtake, Hamilton's too far out in the distance.
It makes you realise how well Formula One did through the pandemic to save the sport and to build its foundations in. You look at the whole Super League fiasco with English football and how teams it's essentially greedy. We've lost money, we want lots of more money, we're going to do anything we can to get that. Formula One has cemented itself, and you may not like the way Chase Carey runs his ship, but he's done a solid job for Formula One. He's brought it, he's come in, he's stabled the ship, he's given it a future, and he's made the future exciting as well. That's the important thing.
I think one of the key things, where the pandemic has helped Formula One is the amount of the drivers going out on the main stage, Silverstone, chatting to everyone, the drivers' parade, even the amount of media work they have to do. It gives them more time to relax over the weekend, and if anything, it's making them enjoy the sport even more, because the whole media thing, yes, it's great for us to go into journalism. It's great. We'd love to speak to drivers, but for them, if they can relax and go out and have an even better race, because they're not spending an hour and a half, in a press conference chatting to small websites, as much as it'd be good for me, but for them, it would create a more interesting racing, I think.
I'm not sure whether that would affect them too much.
Is it just sort of they're that used to it now that?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I'm not sure on that, because I'm not a Formula One driver, sadly.
It's true, but we need to get someone on, a Formula One driver, to tell us someday.
We'll raid the phone books, see who we can find.
If any Formula One drivers are listening and they would like to come on, you can contact us. Yes, all the links are in the description below. So yeah, we'll move on to a team that were up at the top of the grid a few years ago, slipped down, and now are working their way back up, and that's Ferrari. I think they had a pretty decent weekend. 4th and 6th qualifying, 4th and 7th in the race. Leclerc beating the Sainz each time. Do you think Ferrari are getting back up there as the third best team this season, or do you think the midfield battle is just going to change that a bit?
I think it's going to change as we go through the season, because Ferrari have never really... McLaren have never really been strong in Barcelona. It's always been a bit of a bogey trap for them. But I think Ferrari are definitely getting back to where they were. Leclerc is incredible, and Sainz is so far my driver of the season. He has been mega in that car, and it's his first season in the car. You look at how Ricardo's struggling, how Vettel's struggling, how Alonso's struggling. There's some pretty big names in there that are struggling, and Sainz has just got into that Ferrari and been solid on Leclerc's pace, right behind him in qualifying, out-qualifying him sometimes. Race pace is building on, but it's still impressive.
Yeah, I think the race pace will come when he gets more used to the car. It's 4 races in a Ferrari. He's done near 200 laps now in racing. Once he's got comfortable with that car, because them testing, when you jump at the new car, you're that focused on developing the car that you're not getting comfortable and seeing what works well for you. And then the actual races where you have that opportunity to do that. But I have been impressed with Sainz, because I thought him moving from McLaren, he's going to go down the field a bit, and it's going to be a move he regrets. It could be in terms of where McLaren are, but it's not as bad as what I think anyone sort of expected. He's a lot of pressure on him to take over from four-time world champion as well. So he is doing a very solid job. One driver you did mention there that has struggled this season, but picked up a little bit of form this weekend, was Daniel Ricardo. What's your thoughts on his weekend?
He's getting there. He's definitely getting there. His race pace is improving. His qualifying pace is improving. But overall, I think McLaren have said they want to work on their qualifying pace, which makes sense because they are far stronger on the Sunday. But Ricardo is getting there, and I reckon he will be up there fighting with Norris for the podium come the end of the season. But it's just settling into that new car.
Yeah, because it is difficult to settle into a new team, especially for Ricardo. And he's jumping around teams the last few years. Was with Red Bull and then went to Renault. So I think once he gets comfortable with that car, I think he definitely will be up there. And he did show that we're not sitting here saying that he's not a good driver, because he is. He's won 7 Grand Prix races. He is a very good driver, and would have won far more if he had stayed with Red Bull, which he could have done, which is what Red Bull wanted. But
I don't think he would have done.
Do you not think so?
Nope. The team made it very clear they were favouring Verstappen. 2018, Ricardo won 3 races, and then all of a sudden his reliability disappears.
It's true.
I think Red Bull made it very clear to Ricardo, which is why he left, that no matter how good you are, we're focusing and we're putting our money into Verstappen.
And we have seen that the last few years not work out for Albon and Gasly, and but Perez has been good. Couple of comeback drives, looked very strong in qualifying. He had a quiet race, but he still improved from 8th to 4th, so he done exactly what was needed of him.
He did, but Red Bull said the problem with Perez this weekend was he just wasn't close enough to Hamilton, because that then gave Mercedes the room to do the extra stop. But Perez is getting there. Again, needs to focus on the Saturday, which quite a few of the new drivers and new teams are struggling with, the quali, where you're on the limit of the car. Perez is definitely... He's definitely building on a solid race pace, and he is getting towards the front. He's matching Max when it comes to practice, Q2 and 3. It's just that final 10% where Max just nails it that Perez needs to kind of get focused on. He's getting there. He will get there eventually.
I think if this was any other season and Hamilton and Verstappen weren't at the best they've ever been, Perez would actually look a lot better than it actually does, because it would be a lot closer for Verstappen. I think the Hamilton Verstappen battle is pushing both them drivers. Just they're in a class of their own. I think what he needs to do is beat Bottas. That's his main target.
That's his main priority, is beating Bottas.
Because Red Bull, he's not in the Red Bull for the long term.
No, 2 years max,
Yeah,
I reckon.
Because Red Bull have a few drivers coming up that they might want in, but they might not. If they want Verstappen to be a world champion, they'll happily keep Perez for as long as he wants, as long as he's getting that third place, fourth place, and just bringing in points. A team that disappeared along the end, Alpine. Ocon especially looked very strong, and he has done this season. Fernando Alonso is struggling to get used to the car like the other drivers. Do you think Ocon has just stepped up a level this season?
Yes, I think he has. Ocon's proving why he's in Formula One. He's had a few bogey seasons, Ocon, but he is definitely proving, and especially when he's out qualifying someone of the caliber of Fernando Alonso, he's proving why he's there. And he had a solid qualifying in P5, and they started the race seemingly quite well as well. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they just disappeared. The race pace disappeared. Alonso dropped back to 17th.
Yeah, they
dropped around the back of the grid. Ocon was 8th.
I think he might have been 9th even.
8th or 9th.
Yeah.
But no, Alpine are getting there. They were bad in Bahrain, and they are putting blocks down to build upon that car. They will be scrapping for a good chunk of points soon, much similar to Aston Martin, who I don't quite know where they are.
No, they've disappeared. I even forgot they even existed for this race. They were nowhere.
I'm amazed they've gone from the car they had last year to what's the car they've got this year.
Yeah.
It's mental, the difference.
They are blaming the rule changes.
The high rate concept.
But
that's what they were blaming, and that's what they want changed. That's what Omar Safnow is trying to get changed come mid-season.
Which is quite funny after them last season.
Yeah. No. Hot calling kettle.
Yeah. Aston Martin, they've disappointed me. I was expecting them to be right up there. Mostly Lance Stroll has impressed me at times this season, and he gets a lot of stick over being his dad to win the team.
I think he's kind of put that to bed now.
Yeah,
I think that argument has faded because he has proven himself, and he's a good driver.
He is, and he is outperforming Vettel. Vettel, he's been in one Q3 this season.
I don't know what's going on with Sebastian.
No, it's like we thought this would be the fresh start after leaving Ferrari. Last season was a write-off of him and Ferrari anyway, because things weren't good there. So maybe there's still a bit of effects from that he's trying to get back in the state to race properly, but there's something wrong.
Something's not quite right with Vettel and the way he's driving the car.
Yeah,
he just doesn't seem comfortable.
He doesn't.
And he's not fast at all.
No.
You do not become a 4-time world champion by being lucky and slow. He's a quick driver. Why can't he find that in the Aston Martin? I don't know.
Maybe they've switched their attention to next year.
Maybe. Already, which I could see.
Because, to be honest, they can take a financial hit to finish 6th or 7th of the standings, because they've got the money now. 2 years ago, definitely wouldn't have been the case. They wouldn't have got Sebastian Vettel on 2 or 3 years ago anyway. Yeah, they have disappointed. I do think they will improve.
No, I agree with that. They will definitely improve, but it's how quickly they can improve.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember, a lot of other teams will be developing throughout to mid-season. If Aston Martin say, we'll throw the towel in, then it's going to get bad for them. Because Williams is starting to really up their game as well. Williams had a solid race.
They did.
For Williams.
Yeah, because Russell was up there fighting Alonso for points at one stage.
He was fighting Alonso for 10th.
Which I think, given that we've seen obviously the crash a few races ago between him and Bottas, he is able to take a fight to these drivers at the top of the game.
Russell's racecraft is one of the best on the grid.
Yeah.
He's quick as well. I'm not going to hop onto this bandwagon of saying he's overrated, because he's not.
No.
He is good. He's a solid driver. You saw that in Sakir last year. You saw that when he won the F2 title. But yeah, it's Williams are going the right place, and I'm happy for Williams.
Yeah.
The takeover seems to have done its job. It's given them the financial platform to build on, and they're going places. And I reckon they'll be unlucky not to get points this year.
Yeah, I could definitely see them picking up points. You never know, even in Monaco, if they get the qualifying right. Although the only problem I can see with Williams is, in terms of points, it would be relying on Russell alone, because Latifi is struggling in qualifying. He was out qualified by Mick Schumacher. Latifi has been up there. He was in the points a couple of races ago.
Latifi is very much dependent on the circuit.
That's very true.
He's very good at certain tracks, and other tracks he does struggle.
Yeah, and I think, well, you have to bear in mind it's only his second season in Formula 1.
Yeah.
So, he's no longer a rookie, but on some tracks he is. So I think, especially Monaco,
Monaco's going to be interesting.
Yeah. There'll be one driver that we'll be looking forward to see in Monaco, Nikita Mazepin, to see whether or not he can finish a race in Monaco.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one, whether he can keep it out the wall. Monaco is a leveler. It levels the field a lot more, and it really depends on driver skill.
Yeah.
So from there, we can work out who's where, and I think Monaco is going to be interesting this year. Yeah. Whether Mazepin, I don't know, because again, we saw him just outrageously blocking. Was it Lewis Hamilton? Yes, it was. No, it was Lewis Hamilton, because we saw that new graphic where Toto radioed Michael Massey.
Yes, indeed.
New swanky graphic just for Nikita Mazepin. But again, I don't know how he's got away, because he did block him.
Yeah. He's doing often run in the races now to completely sort of make you think, oh, he shouldn't be driving at all. But he's absolutely nowhere. He's 50 seconds. He didn't prove this weekend. He was only 50 seconds behind. He was a minute behind last time. But could it just be down to Mick Schumacher's that good that is a bit like Russell compared to Latifi?
I don't think it's that Mick is that good. Mick is a good driver, and he's learning very quickly. The whole Mazepin argument is an interesting one, because it's just the etiquette as well.
Yeah.
Like we saw it in qualifying, where he was queuing up behind everyone, Norris coming through on a quick lap, and he literally pulls out in front of him. And he said, I disagree with the gentleman's agreement. It's like, you can't do that. It's a gentleman's agreement for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. One thing is for certain, he's not doing Haas any favours.
No.
At all.
Apart from financially. That's the only...
Financially is the only benefit. And you're hearing that from Gunther on the radio, where he's telling him to just shut up and get on with it.
Yeah. It's sort of just... Haas were prepared to take a hit this season, getting the cash from Mazepin, and have a driver, Schumacher, trying to get the headlines, but because of Mazepin, the headlines are all on him, and I think it's unfair on Schumacher, because he is doing a very good job.
Schumacher's having a solid 4 races.
And given the carries in, he has been good. Another year or two to develop there, you never know where he can go, because usually his second season's always better than his first. And if he's having a good season in a Haas, that's probably the slowest in the grid.
Well, let's be real. He's not going to be in the Haas for long, is he? Ferrari will pull him out of that.
Yeah. If Ferrari are in the position they are for the next season or two, they're going into new regulations where they're not fighting for against Mercedes, Red Bull for titles, I could see them putting Schumacher in alongside Leclerc.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Because I don't think he's got the talent at the minute. He's not showing
not at the moment. I would let him develop another year or two. Maybe.
Can you see him going to Alfa Romeo when Raikkonen retires?
I was about to say that. Either he'll stay with Haas or whatever they are next season, and Callum Ilott will come in to Alfa Romeo, or he will go to Alfa Romeo. I think that'll be a natural progression. I think then they could see a similar plan to what happened to Leclerc. He can impress there. And for Ferrari, if they're sitting battling for 4th, 5th every race and they think he's good enough to have a Schumacher in a red car, it's marketing for them.
Yeah,
they don't need it, but
it is. It is, but I don't know with Mick Schumacher, because I never thought he was good enough. The question I always ask with Mick Schumacher, and this was before this season, so this is, and he has won me over this year, and he's driving well. He's so polite on the radio, and he's just an all-round nice guy. But the question is, if it wasn't for the surname, would you be saying he'd be in a Ferrari seat in a couple of years?
Probably not.
Probably not.
But I think I wouldn't be saying Ferrari. I would probably say a different team, probably Alpine or something like that.
No, I can agree with that.
The Ferrari is because of the surname, and I think that all them people at Ferrari, they would love the opportunity to have, Mick Schumacher in a Ferrari car.
They would indeed.
Because it's not even, it's a Schumacher, it's an M Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
So
MSH.
Yeah, and I do like the way he took that, because he could have just had, the thing you have for Formula 2 is SCH.
Yeah.
I think the only reason for that was you have to keep it through Formula 2 and Formula 3, or the other way around, and then someone else had
you can pick it in
maybe even Formula 4.
I'm not sure.
There was someone in the series that had the same initials that took that off him, so he couldn't use it, so he had to stick with it the entire way through. But like Verstappen, when they come in with John Verne, Verstappen was VES, I think, for a while.
Yeah, Verstappen had VES.
Yeah, because John Verne, I think it was John Verne, wasn't it?
Yeah, John Verne. 2016.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to see Schumacher doing well. I think at the end of the season we'll be able to see how good he is. I think his main target, I think, is to beat Latifi. That's his first step.
Yep.
Then after that,
can you see that Haas getting points though this year?
I can't see him getting points, but I could see him being top 13.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
I think Latifi is his main target this season, because Mazepin is down the bottom unless he develops very quickly throughout the season, which can be questionable. You never know in Formula 1. And then I think it's Giovinazzi probably. Russell, I think, if the car, depending on what circuit, if he can beat Russell and beat him comfortably in multiple races, I think that's when you start raising eyebrows and going, here. If he can, I think Russell's a good benchmark for him in terms of where he can develop, because Russell's not a good enough car to be showing his potential. So
no,
if he can start getting closer to him, I think that will really start to show that he is a good young driver. You're saying about how polite he is on the radio, and it's great to see one driver who isn't as polite, Yuki Tsunoda. Do you think his sort of temper and his...
My opinions on Yuki are starting to change.
Same. I thought first race of the season, testing, I thought, great, this is a very exciting young driver. And then black and white flags for track limits.
Yeah.
Radio, constant swearing on the radio. Unless, it could... In case he's trying too hard, he's trying to please too many people, but he's not exactly doing that.
No, it's a tough one, because if it was anyone else swearing that much on the radio, there would be uproar about it. And I think it's because he's so young, and he's the first Japanese driver since Kamui Kobayashi. There's a lot of factors going towards him, but I think equally he needs to start showing some results.
Yeah.
Bahrain, he was good. Past 3 races now,
hasn't been so good.
He's not been very... I mean, of course, the switch off was... Yeah, there's nothing we could have done about that. But the way he got out the car and straight away started shooting shots at the team in his 4th race, you can't do that.
No.
Especially with Helmut Marko and Franz Tost in that team build-up.
No, and he is at the point where he's probably the most likely to be replaced out of any driver of the Red Bull Academy or the Red Bull teams, which is a real shame because he was probably promoted a little bit too early in a way.
I think he could have done another year in Formula 2 and it would not have done him any disfavours.
I think if Honda were staying in the sport, he would have been in F2. Who they would have kept in at AlphaTauri is a different question. But I think Red Bull, a good place, he's with AlphaTauri, we have to remember, is a good place for him to learn. And I think he'll be told off and he'll be taught how to act as
he
a
will
Formula 1
have
driver.
definitely had a telling off after his performance on Saturday.
And either that is going to make him a better driver, make him more likable, or he's going to turn into a character where people just don't like because he doesn't accept that he's done anything wrong and starts blaming other people the entire time, which won't do many favours on the paddock with the other drivers. And in order to do well in Formula 1, you need to have the respect of the other drivers.
And the other teams.
The other teams, yeah.
And if you're someone that blatantly just abuses your team when you've made a mistake, we saw him run wide at 9, which cost him ultimately the lap. He ran wide at 9, dipped a wheel in the gravel, which slowed him down. If you then come in and say, oh, the car's not there, the car's awful, the car's this, it's undrivable, you're not going to get into those good teams.
No.
Because they do not want drivers that do that. You don't air your dirty laundry.
It's the track limits thing as well. And
yeah, we saw that in Portimao. We saw it in Imola.
Yeah. It's just constant going wide and the getting the black and white flag, which 2 races in a row, given how early it is on, and he might still not. I think Imola was the biggest shock because he's done more laps in that circuit than anyone else this season.
Yeah.
He knows that track well. And he should be able to stick to the track limits.
Is he overdriving the car?
It could be.
Did the result in Bahrain for the first race
give him too much confidence?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it did.
And did it then lead the media to hype him up too much?
I think it did because I got excited about it. Because
yeah, well, I mean, we both sat here and said it's fantastic to see such a talented young driver.
Yeah. I think over the course of the season, he will get better. He'll learn how to be a better F1 driver. But then again, if you do that, if you're constantly coached as in how to speak to media, you're losing the personality side. We see with Kimi Räikkönen, everyone loves him because he just doesn't care.
No,
but
does it for a hobby.
Yeah, he does it for a hobby, but he's still respectful and he'll say what he thinks, but also within team guidelines, because it's the same if you're an employee of any business, you're not going to come out and criticise your own business.
No, you're not. And I think that is something that he's going to need to pick up very quickly, because if he doesn't, especially with the way Red Bull is at the minute, he will not be there next year.
No. Hopefully he can improve, because he is a talented driver and he's got a lot of potential, but he's doing himself no favours at this moment.
That he is not.
Anything else to say about the race before we move on to some news?
Not particular. I think overall it was a good race for Spain.
Yeah, for Spain it was.
That turn 10 doesn't work.
No,
the new one.
No.
It doesn't work at all. That track has a complete identity crisis. It doesn't know what it wants to be. There are no decent overtaking spots apart from turn 1.
Yeah.
I reckon you get rid of the chicane, maybe you have better chances. But I don't get why Spain is... Bring back Valencia, I say, the street circuit.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a belter of a track.
Yeah, it's lying abandoned, I think.
Yep, it is indeed.
It's a real shame.
It is a shame. But no, Monaco next week will be very interesting.
Yeah, we'll get on to Monaco in just a little bit. There's some quick F1 news. Toto Wolff has said it's up to Alpine to sort out Ocon's future first. Is that sort of Ocon, there's still the Mercedes link there? Or is it?
There is, but I think I'm not sure. I can see in the future Russell Ocon at Mercedes. That to me is the level-headed explanation. When Hamilton and Bottas have both moved on, I can see Russell and Ocon. Whether, like anyone, he's going to have to earn that seat, and I think he's doing a good job. And we know Ocon's quick.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see what happens with that Mercedes seat, because no question of a doubt, it's the most hotly contested seat.
Yeah, I only think it will be Ocon Russell if both Hamilton and Bottas go at the one time. I still think it'll be Russell Norris down the line. I'm holding on to that.
Russell Norris?
Yeah, that would
really?
be... That would
That's interesting.
But then, I think I said this last one, I would love to see Norris stay with McLaren.
Yeah, I would love to see Norris stay with McLaren and build them into a World Championship winning team.
Yeah, but if you're Lando Norris sitting in a McLaren that isn't getting on the podium regularly, and you get a phone call from Toto to say, or James Allison, whoever's in charge by then, to say there's a seat here, world champions, 8-9 time world champions. Do you want the seat? It's going to take a lot to say no.
It is. Yeah, no, that's a very fair point.
All news, some sad news really. Carlos Reutemann in intensive care. I think his condition's going a bit downhill, which isn't great. We do hope he makes a speedy recovery.
We do indeed.
And then we've discussed this so many times. Bottas replaced mid-season by Russell. I don't think there's too much we can say about this because we discussed it multiple times already.
I can't see it happening.
No.
It's, as Bottas said, we're not the team that do that. Only there's another team that does that.
Without naming any names, it's an energy drink brand.
Yes, and it's not Rich Energy.
No.
But no, I think Bottas has the seat till the end of the season, and I think that's why we're seeing Bottas go a bit rebel without a cause.
Yeah, because, could be a case of he knows his time's up.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to think, for Bottas, it must be hard suddenly coming up to the best team on the grid, and your teammate is just on form. He's just constantly snowballing.
Yeah. It's not even the stage of when Perez qualified for Verstappen. We're not even seeing that too much, although Bottas did get pole last time in Portimao. It wasn't quick enough.
You saw it in the race. He just hasn't got that level of pace that Max and Lewis have.
And it could be down the same again with Perez. If Hamilton and Verstappen weren't as dominant as they are, pushing each other along.
Oh, 100%. Bottas would be leading. Yeah,
because Bottas always starts the season well, but this year, because it wasn't Australia first, then Bahrain, he hasn't had that start.
You take Hamilton, Verstappen out of the World Championship standings, Bottas is a 4-time world champion.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Because he's good and he's consistent, but he's not. He's consistent if you look at the final result and not the time differences between the drivers.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. So we'll do something a little bit different for the podcast now. It's not really discussions, just some facts and key moments that have happened this week in Formula 1 in the past. On May 11th, 2008, Rubens Barrichello became the most experienced F1 driver after competing in more Grand Prix than any other driver. At this time, he was with Ferrari before making the switch to Braun GP the following season. The rest is history with them. Yeah.
What a year 2009 was.
It was. Sticking with Rubens Barrichello, on May 12, 2002, after dominating qualifying in the race, he was ordered to let Michael Schumacher pass on the final lap. Then Schumacher then pushed Barrichello onto the top step of the podium, and because of this and the team orders, Ferrari were fined $500,000, and the team orders were banned. And he later came out and said they feared being sacked if he didn't move and let Schumacher pass. I think that's one of the biggest moments that's ever happened in Formula 1.
That's one of the most controversial on-track decisions. And I think that was Ferrari at Ferrari's peak of Michael Schumacher. Because that was the points he needed were the points he then went on to win the championship by. So that was peak Ferrari at Michael Schumacher. They would do anything to get him to win.
May 13th, 1950 was the very first Formula 1 World Championship that kicked off at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
Just down the road.
Yes. And
claim to fame.
And sticking with the British Grand Prix, May 14th, 1949. I forgot to put the year, I think it's 1949.
First Grand Prix.
No, it's definitely not 1949. 71.
What's
It's Murray Walker picked up the microphone for the first
70?
time.
I think it was 71.
I don't know why I said 49.
49 would be before Formula One had been invented, which would have been a classic Murrayism.
Yes.
Yeah, commentating on something before it exists.
I'll call it Murrayism there.
Yeah, there we go.
First of many this happened
An
in the
honour.
podcast. Yes, this is an honour. He obviously picked up the microphone for the very first time when he covered the second commentary position, Stowe Corner. He impressed the BBC with his coverage of the Chelsea Walsh hill climb, which he only done because he had to step in for his Fowler. So if he didn't have to step in for his Fowler, we might never have had the iconic voice of Murray Walker on the airwaves.
There we go. Destiny, hey?
Yeah. We'll round out the podcast with some predictions and it's current. Well, do you want to know the score currently as it stands after 4 races? We do we do like 7 or 8 predictions each race, so I've only got 3 right, and you and or Team Craig and Ryan have got 2 right.
So we're proving ourselves to be the experts in motorsports that we are. And
this is why we do it at the end.
Yes. So at this point, we hope no one's really still listening.
No.
So we can't embarrass ourselves too badly.
Yeah, that's very true. The last time you were here was Portugal.
Before Portugal,
Portugal, yeah. Our predictions for Portugal were, I said Perez and Paul, you said Hamilton. Didn't happen. The podium for the race, we both said Hamilton, Verstappen 1-2. We both got points for that. And Perez, actually, we got more than 3 points. That was before I'd done these, so we've actually got more. I've got the final scores at the bottom. We're actually doing better than we thought.
There we go.
This is good.
This is not too bad.
This is why I hope no one's listening.
Professional level podcasting.
Very much so. Podium for Portugal, Hamilton, Verstappen. I said Perez. You said Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc. Hamilton, Verstappen was correct. Fastest lap, I said Ricardo. You said Bottas. You got a point for Bottas. And then my surprise was ranking in the points.
That ended well after 3 laps.
It did. He didn't even set a lap. It was.
Was it the first lap?
It was the end of lap 1.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And then you said both McLarens in the top 6, which neither got into the top 6.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Funny thing with that Kimi Räikkönen story is he always tells his son, Robin, always watch the front of your car overtaking other cars.
Yeah.
So he's been berated by his son, which makes it even funnier.
Yes.
Just imagine Kimi Räikkönen, one of the most experienced F1 driver of all time, getting told by his little son, you need to watch the front of your car.
Yeah.
That would have been funny.
For Spain, this is where you hear Ryan's bold predictions. I said Hamilton and Pole, which was correct.
Point.
Pole 100. Ryan said Verstappen, which...
Close.
Yeah. Podium, we both said Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez. So we each got 2 points. Fastest lap, I said Bottas. He said Norris. It was Verstappen who got fastest lap. And then surprise, I said a top 3 comeback where one of the drivers in the finish of the podium would drop near the bottom of the grid, climb the way up. Didn't really happen. And then Ryan said Ocon top 5, which looked likely
technically happened on Saturday.
Yeah, but last podcast I said something you didn't give me about the Saturday thing, so it's Sunday Grand Prix predictions.
Right, it's getting very strict now.
Yes, because final scores at the moment is 8 points to me and 7 points to Team Craig and Ryan.
So it's close.
Yeah,
very close.
There is the controversial Alfa Romeo point at the end of the season.
Ah, yes.
Which we didn't give. Predictions time then. I'll kick things off with pole for the Monaco Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton.
Really?
Yes. Because I'm thinking F1 fantasy, stick him on as a mega driver. There you go. Go on and win the race.
Mercedes have never been good around Monaco, though.
Yeah, but Hamilton is next level this season.
You see, I was thinking for pole, I was going to go something outlandish, like Lando Norris or maybe... I mean, we know Ricardo's good as well.
He is.
Or it could be anyone. It could be... That's the beauty of Monaco. So I'm going to go... I'm going to throw it out there and I'm going to say Lando Norris for pole.
Okay. Podium, I said Hamilton win. Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris.
Hamilton, Verstappen,
Yeah. We can have the same because me and Ryan have, because it'd be a bit unfair if you want Norris. Are you going to say Norris is going to go on and win?
I don't know. Okay, if I've said him, I'll say Norris, Hamilton, Verstappen.
Okay. Fastest lap. It's a
I'm
tough
gonna go
one.
Bottas.
Okay, I'm going to go Perez then. Do the Red Bull way. And then your surprise.
The McLaren on the podium.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. I'm going to say Mazepin completes a lap, because if he does, that's something
That's
special.
a miracle.
Yeah, because I could see him, Sandevot, turn 1, go straight on. Yeah.
Spins.
So that is our predictions, and that's all we have to say about the Spanish Grand Prix. Anything else to say?
No, I think we've covered all of it there. I think we've done a good job.
It is Monaco next, so I'm really looking forward to Monaco.
Oh, yeah, really looking forward to I love Monaco.
I'm looking forward to the Saturday more than the Sunday.
Well, Monaco's, the Saturday is the bigger day.
Yeah, although hopefully they don't put sprint races in Monaco in the future. That's a discussion for another day, I think. So yeah, Craig, once again, thank you for joining me for this one. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for having me on again, just allowing us to have a good ramble about F1.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the time. It's almost an hour. So
It's a long one, this one.
Yeah, we've discussed a lot today.
We have indeed.
Yeah, all your links will be down in the description below, and we'll be putting this out on Twitter and all the usual places. And I say this every time, if you're listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts is on there, but if you're listening on that, you've already found it. And if you are listening to that and you've never heard of us before, we have a website and a YouTube channel with some videos, factual videos, some more controversial videos.
Definitely make sure you check out the stuff. The videos are fantastic.
Well, thank you very much for that. So yeah, I'll have to say thank you for listening, because I say watching every time. So yeah, this is episode 6. We've had 100 streams on, or 100 downloads on all of the streaming platforms, which big thank you for that, and on YouTube as well. They're doing not too bad. So yeah, hopefully we'll continue these going forward, and we hope you all enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Hope to see you all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.